outlaw over 70% of all natural healthcare products, and the rest are to be for prescription use only. And some of these products that they're looking to outlaw are such as garlic, dandelion greens, bottled water. I mean, come on, bottled water. Yeah, bottled water. I mean, I truly fail to know what, any excuse that they could come up with for outlawing bottled water, or any of these natural food products or supplements for that matter.
I can understand in that sense if there were to go to the extent to say, okay, bottled water actually affects the climate in the end because of transportation from the water, the source, etc., etc. Okay, a little bit I can understand of that, but garlic. Come on.
Garlic and dandelion greens, and there's more. I mean, 70% of all natural healthcare products, and the rest, and they're to be outlawed, and the rest are, close to all the rest are supposedly going to be for prescription use only. And, it makes sense on a couple different levels, but Big Pharma, obviously, they don't like a lot of these products, they don't have the FDA approval, so... that's obviously one reason why they're not too happy with this. But then you take a step back and you look at the bigger picture of what Codex Alimentarius is really doing. It's just another form of control, because obviously, the control of food, it's a necessity. So it's obviously another form of control. But one of the stipulations of this bill, the C-51 bill, is that if it were to be passed, it will remove democratic oversight. It bypasses elected officials, so they can vote laws in and allow bureaucrats to adopt laws from other countries without the consent of the people. So removing all democratic oversight.
Really?
And now the they that I'm talking of is the FDA and Codex Alimentarius. So and some of the legal punishments, it's just ridiculous. And inspectors will be allowed to enter private property. Mind you that I said inspectors, not law enforcement.
Right.
They will be able to enter private property without a warrant, take any property at their discretion, dispose of it at will, not reimburse any of the losses, seize bank accounts, charge owners shipping and storage for the property that they stole, hold seized property indefinitely, levy fines up to $5 million, and seek 2 years in jail time for each individual incident.
Yeah.
Each incident.
Right.
So, anyone who's mistaken in thinking that, the government truly cares about the well-being of the people, please tell me what good comes, from all of this. It comes from banning 70% of natural healthcare products.
Okay, so give us the overview of this again. C-51 it's called, and is this...
It's called the C-51 bill. It's passed 3 readings right now.
Right.
And
what will happen if it goes through in Canada? You said that it can be implemented in other countries without some kind of a poll or referendum?
Yeah. Well, actually, let me get into that. For those of you who are thinking that this really doesn't have anything to do with anybody outside of Canada, just think of what Bush and Bush, Fox, and Martin signed in 2005. I believe it was called the Security and Prosperity Partnership. Of North America, and also known as it's the North American Union that we're looking at right now, and think of the fact that the people had no input whatsoever on that being signed. They're using the threat of terrorism to assist this Trojan horse pretty much into our backyards with the North American Security Act.
Right.
They're working to break down sovereign borders with a superhighway. Right now it's being constructed. It's called the Trans-Texas Corridor?
That's right, yeah, the National Highway,
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the channel that connects England to Europe, which, was pretty much, in my estimate, it was essential for the European Union. And, most of all this, just take a look at the FDA's, the Trilateral Cooperation Charter, it's called. The FDA is using this thing called the Trilateral Cooperation Charter to engage in conferencing with Canada and Mexico for the purpose of creating one set of harmonized food and drug regulations for all 3 countries with zero input from the citizens of those 3 countries. So that right there. And I've received a lot of emails from people who are trying to – they actually – I sent a lot of newsletters out about how I'm doing this interview, and got a lot of people from Canada emailing me on trying to get some of the information out on how this can be stopped, because obviously they say there's a lot of like roadblocks. There's a lot of places that are set up to make it look like, you know, you can sign a petition and send it here and look like it'll help. But I can't remember the person's name, but the president of the Codex Alimentarius, he receives all these emails and he just deletes them, pretty much ignores all the petitions and everything like that. And there's other things out on the internet right now that it's pretty much just a distraction for people to get involved with when it really has no help. So really, I mean, all they're saying you can do with this is pretty much contact your local senators and congressmen about pretty much signing a petition saying no to the Trilateral Cooperation Charter. That's for anybody who's really in North America, but the only people who can really petition the C-51 bill itself are those citizens of Canada, obviously.
Mm-hmm. You know, but yeah, I just want to ask you, you know, what you consider to be. I mean, you mentioned control, obviously, and we have in the background to all of this, we have the idea of population reduction going in, but this is also another, as far as I see it, another factor involved here in regards to controlling everything that is natural, controlling nature and things like this. What do you consider to be the main purpose behind that? Do you have an idea or a theory about that at all?
Well, I mean, there's obviously there's the obvious. It's to maintain control, because if you look at a lot of the key players behind a lot of this, it's the same people that are setting up a monopoly in every facet, whether it be media monopoly, whether it be just corporations, you know, becoming corporate America and close to, you know, basically corporate Earth. You're seeing the monopoly in the control in those things. So that's the control of the dissemination of information that reaches the public. And then, you know, that's obviously one, you know, key element in the empowering people. But then you have things like food, obviously, and, you know, the next step would be controlling the air that we, you know, the very air that we breathe. But food itself, obviously, you need it to live. So Codex Alimentarius, what they're talking about is global implementation for, you know, December 31st, 2009. And really, I mean, obviously, this is very symbolic of what we're getting into, what's known as the one world government, this new world order that's supposedly trying to be implementing itself. And obviously, with a cashless society and a microchipped population that a lot of people are getting into and talking about now, it's just another form of having complete and utter control. That way, it's kind of like what you see with people now giving all their responsibility away to the insurance companies, or giving all the responsibility away to the government, and not taking responsibility for themselves. They're allowing themselves to, you know, when they leave home at the age of 18 or whenever they leave, they leave their parents behind, the parents that they used to run to fix everything, and they think they're free, and then all of a sudden they don't realize that symbolically what all they did was they replaced it with this, you know, the insurance companies and the government and everything else that they run to in the same fashion that they used to run to their parents for money, support, help, anything. So it's kind of just showing that there's growing older, but there's very little growing up going on.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so much more to mention about this, to touch upon, and we'll definitely need to go there in the second segment. But in the 15 or so minutes we have left in this first segment, do you want to go into a little bit about these solutions and things like that? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, to touch base on a little bit of like the scientific way of understanding how nature should affect us and how unnatural things do affect us. I mean, there's amazing scientific research right now that backs up all of these statements on what like talismans are. Talismans are how color and sound and symbols and catchphrases and archetypes and how all these things affect us on a subconscious level. So, you know, to truly wake up, you know, being one of the solutions, just having, you know, a mass awakening, getting people to wake up to these things is obviously to understand some of these more like symbolic and subconscious ways of control, such as the talismans. And I mean, just to show a little bit of scientific research showing how just colors themselves affect the body. Colors are literally just vibrations of sound. They're higher and more rapid of a frequency on the frequency scale. So these sound vibrations, they become inaudible, and then eventually they get detected with our eyes. They're picked up by more highly tuned instruments that are our eyes. And for instance, the cones in our eyes, they vibrate at a frequency of like 500 billion cycles per second just to perceive the color yellow. And even red is 400 billion cycles per second to perceive that color. So then you see a lot of those colors in fast food restaurants, because what they literally do is they'll slightly increase the heart rate, slightly increase the metabolism, and it makes people want to eat quicker and then leave quicker, such as fast food. And then you see the polar opposite of that. You see the more calm, cool, natural colors, the blues, the greens, the browns, the very soft colors in the fine dining restaurants. So colors used very hypnotically in the media, in advertising and absolutely everything. And the science behind it is when the color passes through the pupil, that signal is sent to the hypothalamus, which affects the neurotransmitters in our brains, the enzyme and hormone production, as well as like a whole other slew of physiological functions in our body.
Right.
So literally color, I mean, I don't know if people pick up on this, but color truly affects the physiological function of our enzymes and hormones and neurotransmitters, and it can bring about hormones, obviously, it brings about specific emotions sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is precisely why colors in advertising is used so carefully. You have sound, and the beat of music today, like a lot of pop songs, are around 72 beats per minute because it feels good because it's right in line with the average heartbeat. So and you have archetypes that, we're seeing a lot today, like the animus, the big daddy, in our so-called leaders, these strong archetype figures that, that if you don't understand archetypes, like going back and looking into a lot of Carl Jung's work, if you don't understand the archetypes, it's something that's played on us on a subconscious level that we're not truly understanding.
Oh yeah, and that's also, I think, a lot of I mean, in a sense, when you look at all of this and take it together, you also see that we are participating in this control that is ongoing, and we are willingly, so to speak, letting them control us. And this is, I think, that the archetype that you're talking about here is a big part of that. That in a sense, people are craving for that dominating force above them, the Uber father or what have you,
Yes.
that dominating force. So that's very important to also recognize that if people have that inherently within themselves, that they're craving this, obviously we're going to get it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, because that really just brings me into my next point. Archetypes, obviously, they're universal patterns that pretty much everybody follows. And when you look into mythology and even in religion, all the allegory surrounding it, a lot of it has to do with archetypes, showing a very symbolic way that people react with the outside world around them. Archetypes are very important in this. And this is where I really want to jump into the solutions, because everything I mention here, about this this esoteric agenda, all the way from humanity's departure from natural time, like we said in the beginning, the pagan rituals behind, all the political agendas, the elite bloodlines, the UN programs that are trying to destroy our freedoms, they can all be negated in a heartbeat. And it's very simple, but it's also very difficult for some people to understand in this day and age. I mean, the most difficult thing for modern left-brain, logical, rational thinkers is to understand that there's truly nothing that is happening in this world. Like you were just saying, there's nothing that is happening in this world that we are not doing to ourselves.
Right.
And this is where, many people get confused, because, they want hardcore physical action. They want to do something outward and external. They want to sign a petition or debate politics or spread the word about Ron Paul or demonize the UN.
Right.
Anything that has to do with creating a revolution, something external, something that people can follow.
Yeah.
Because, that's what people want.